Welcome back to another exciting episode of bringing Jesus back into focus. I was a Jewish Christian Catholic person, born in 1957 into the Jewish Christian Catholic Church, but I left when I was 16 or 17 because of the lie they were teaching, that the Jewish God Yahweh was the same divine source of pure love that Jesus was at one with and became enlightened through and became a child of love in a heavenly spiritual universe and spiritual world, which is a different dimension and a different world. And he realized he had a spiritual body which became fully awakened. And then he taught others how to also find it within yourself, within myself, within you. We all have one. Wake up into it. And that's the one that leaves when our body of flesh dies and returns to the earth and rots. And the spiritual body has to be filled with only love. Then you can enter this world of only love. And he said it's a world of only love. And he said the spiritual life force in that world is like the love that rises like the sun. It's like the sun. The love of that world, the love of that spiritual being is like the sun that rises on the good and the evil. Like the rain that falls on the just and the unjust. She's even kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Unless your love is as perfect as her love, you can't enter her world. So think of this divine spiritual being or God as this perfect consciousness of pure love, pure gold, untarnished by any evil whatsoever. Couldn't hurt you at all, ever. Never could, never will, never can. Jesus can't hurt you either. He's an awakened spiritual child of a loving spiritual creator in a heavenly spiritual world, which is as real as this world, but it's spiritual. So we can't see it because we've only got eyeballs of flesh and a brain of mushy organic stuff. It's all material. This whole body's organic material, bones, calcium, minerals, chemicals, water, gases. It's all earth. It's all just dirt and gases and chemicals, biological functions. And yes, there are chemical currents and nerve currents, and the brain is incredibly complex, but we also have thought and mind, which is not physical. We have a spiritual body, which is not physical. The spiritual body, Jesus said, is going to leave when your physical body dies. Spiritual body leaves, and he says that's the one to get ready in. That's the one to make your primary identity on earth. Become an awakened spiritual child of light while you're here. Fill yourself with the love from heaven. Understand how to get to heaven, understand your true identity. I'll explain it to you. Once I explain to you who you really are as a spiritual child of love and non-violence, and you commit to it in this dangerous world, this dangerous evil world, but you become a child of love and non-violence, that is the challenge. Everyone who achieves that goes to heaven. No more suffering, no more death, no more physical body, no more toilet paper. You'll have bodies like angels. So that's the prime message of Jesus, absolutely, without any doubt at all. So with his Gospels, of course, they've been poisoned by the Jewish religion. Always remember, the Jewish religion worships a Yahweh God with one body called Yahweh, but two different heads on it. They have a war god and a god of love. The same war god as the Roman god Mars, the war god Mars, the Greek war god Ares, and the Egyptian war god Sekhmet, and the Jewish war god Yahweh one. You've got to say Yahweh one. They're all filthy, stinking, murdering, stealing, thieving, lying war gods. And the Jews worship that war god. Unfortunately, they still worship it today, which is a real serious problem. But the Italians don't worship Mars anymore. The Greeks don't worship Ares. The Egyptians don't worship Sekhmet. But the Jews still worship Yahweh war god, the stinking, murdering war god, who invades other people's lands and steals it. And they did that at Jericho. And of course they're doing it on the West Bank because of this war god, so that they believe in. So it's a real problem because that overlaid and poisoned the Christian religion. Jesus tried to get them out of that into just the God of love, the Yahweh of love. See, the other Yahweh is a Yahweh of love the foreigner as if they are a Jew. And when they're amongst you, love them as if they're Jewish. That's the other God that they had there as well. They had two gods, just like the Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians and everyone else had multiple gods. The Jews had got it down to two gods, black and white. A murdering, evil, satanic God. They all had one. Mars, Sekhmet, Ares, Yahweh one. All satanic war gods, all of them. That's why Jesus said, you're children of Satan. He was a murderer and a liar from the start, and you do the lusts and desires of Satan, the war god. He was calling it out. He's saying, you're worshipping the war god. He couldn't say you're calling that is Yahweh, because they would have stoned him to death. You see, that's why he never says the word Yahweh in the Gospels. He never says that. He can't say that because there's two Yahwehs. And so in the Gospels, of course, there is his sayings, he couldn't say Yahweh is a perverted God with two heads on it. They would have just grabbed him and killed him. So he had to be careful. That's why he used the term Father, as in the Creator. And I say loving spiritual Creator to make it more correct. So this is the Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, which is published on March 2026 around the world. You'll find this a much cleaner translation of the Greek interlinears and the Gospels of Jesus and the sayings of Jesus. I've really made sure there's no distortions or perversions. There's no apocalyptic overlays in this translation. They're all lies. They're all filthy lies, as is the book of Revelation. It's a stinking, filthy, slanderous book. I've never seen anyone write any greater slander about Jesus in my life than that book of Revelation. You hear people who can religion and can Jesus and it's all rubbish. That's nothing compared to the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation has painted him as Satan, coming back on the clouds as Satan to cause sickness, wars, disease, starve people to death. That's a satanic war god. So that is the most filthy, stinking slander, and it's stinking up the Christian churches. Get it out. Rip it out of the Bible now. Just don't look at it, burn it. Cut the Bible in two and get the Jewish religion out of our churches as well. Put it up on the shelf with all the other religions. There is a Yahweh of love in it. Don't get me wrong. There is a Yahweh of love. They had the god Pax. They had the god Irene. They had the Egyptian god that calms you down. But they were all honest. Those people were honest. They had a different temple, different name, different god, different life force. The Jews were cunning, deceiving, and liars. They called the two gods by the same name. They shouldn't have done that. That's their problem now. But it shouldn't be a Christian problem. We have nothing to do with Yahweh. You can't. Unless you know there's two there. Then if you want to bother trying to find the good one in amongst it, go ahead and do it if you want to. But you may as well read the Quran, or you may as well read Buddhist teachings, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Sikh religion. There's love all over the place. And the Jews have got some, but they've got a violent war god, so don't follow that god. Dump it. And stay with the loving spiritual Creator that Jesus was talking about, that's only love. That's the contents of the book, and we're up to Matthew, and I think it's part number 11 or something like that. So we're up to first spiritual practice. So I'm just going through the Gospel of Matthew now, reading that, and putting it on YouTube for anyone interested. And I continually try to do my best to help Jewish Christians come away from the Jewish religion, come away from it. I say to people, don't go swimming in that Jewish billabong. There's a snake in there. Don't go swimming in there. Stay in this crystal stream of loving water that flows past the billabong and off to heaven. Don't go into the Jewish billabong on the side there. There's a snake in it. So stay with Jesus and what he called the living water, the wellspring within you that bubbles up to eternal life. That's the loving spiritual life force from heaven and the loving spiritual Creator of the heavenly universe and heavenly world of love. That's what's in your spiritual body. You don't need anything else to have life in heaven. But if you haven't got that spiritual loving life force in you, Jesus said, you're empty. And you're going to die empty. So that's what his message is all about. You've got two bodies. Body of flesh dies, feed it to the vultures. He said there's nothing in it. But your spiritual body is really important. Make sure it's clean, filled with love. Don't worship money. Don't do evil things. Don't hurt any children. Don't kill anyone. Whatever you do, don't kill another child with the loving Creator, whatever you do. So don't join armies, navies and air forces. I advise all Christians to get out of those satanic things. Get out of them. That's Satan. In all those armies and navies, get out of them. If you're a Christian, be more like the Amish, Quakers, Assyrian Christians. We don't go to any, we don't join armies. We don't kill anyone. Hopefully we go to heaven. First spiritual practice, Matthew 22, 34, 39. A lawyer asked Jesus a question to test him. Teacher, what spiritual practice is the most important? Jesus replied, first you must change and understand this correctly, O Israel. A loving spiritual Creator is only love and one, and is not a dualistic God. Then the first spiritual practice is to love and be thankful to your loving spiritual Creator with all your heart, all your love, all your spirit and soul, with all your mind, for giving you a spiritual life. The second spiritual practice is similar. You must love your neighbour as yourself. All the good prophets and other spiritual practices depend on these two spiritual practices. And the lawyer said to him, you are correct, teacher. And you have truly revealed that our loving Creator is only one, and there is no other but she. And to love her with all your heart, with all our heart, with all the understanding, and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbour as oneself, is more than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices. Jesus saw, he understood, and said, you are not far from the heavenly spiritual world of our loving Creator. Because at that time, the Romans, when they went to war, they murdered an innocent animal at the temple of Mars and sacrificed it, and off they went to war. The Jews murdered an animal when they went to war, offered it to Yahweh, went to war. They offered up animals to cleanse them of their sins. That's where the Jesus' blood cleans you comes from. It's a Jewish sacrificial. They murder an innocent sheep or lamb or something, and its blood is supposed to clean you. I would have thought murdering an innocent animal is sort of like going to make you more dirty myself. But in those days, they had a distorted, perverted understanding, and that's a war god thing anyway. So, that's what they were doing. So, but to love others, Jesus is saying, you got it. You understand. It's more than all the burnt sacrifices and killing innocent animals. That means nothing. So, author, the first thing Jesus does is to point out to the Jews that our loving spiritual Creator is only one and is not the two-headed dualistic God Yahweh of the Jews. That's what he means when in the Jewish Christian Gospels it says our Lord God is one. But of course I have to do my best to explain that a bit more. It's not the two-headed God. He can't say it's not the two-headed God you're worshipping. Because if he'd have said that, they would have killed him. So he had to sort of do his best to talk about the one loving Creator until finally you got it. Oh, wait a minute. Jesus lived differently. He spoke differently. He said this loving Creator is like the sun rising on the good and the evil. We kill the evil. He's saying that's not the right God. He had to do it in a way that prevented them from murdering him until he got the message out long enough. He lasted 3 years, which was well done considering how violent the Jews were at killing anyone who went against their war God Yahweh. He did very well. So there's the problem. The first thing he tells them is, there's only one loving Creator, not a dualistic God. He then gives the main spiritual way of love as being the most important thing of all to follow. Not like the war Godhead Yahweh one of murder, genocide, thieving, revenge and corruption, but more like the Yahweh two of love, your neighbour as yourself. So he was trying to get them out of it, but he had to be so careful because they'd just kill him. As soon as he blasphemed Yahweh openly, they got him. They just grabbed the stones and they just hammer his skull to death. They loved killing in the name of Yahweh, the Jews. And when we see what they've done at Gaza and what they're doing on the West Bank, you've got to say to yourself, well, they haven't stopped, have they? Matthew 23, 1-34, Jesus criticises Pharisees. I'm always amazed at this. I think I feel a bit uncomfortable being critical of the Jewish religions. I think, well, there's beautiful people there. They're all, they're going to get to heaven. I'm not saying Jewish Christians won't enter heaven. What I'm saying is, are you following Jesus or are you following Yahweh, the war God? The war God's not the God of Jesus. So I just warn people, but I don't say, Jesus really hammers them here. I mean, it's amazing. He's so forthright. It's a wonder they didn't kill him just for doing all this, saying all these things. But let's have a look at it. I'm always comforted when I see what he says here, because I worry about what I say, which is critical. But I say it through truth. I'm shining the truth of what Jesus was, or who he was, who the loving Creator is, the way to heaven. I shine that truth, just completely. I don't hold back about it. And I say the Jewish religion, they worship two gods. I say that because that's the truth. And one of them is a satanic war god. That's the truth. Jesus himself said so. I don't even need Jesus to tell me, because you can read it. It's there. Just read what they did at Jericho and Nineveh or anywhere else. So you just have to have a logical brain and then understand Jesus is talking about love, and you'll be right. You'll get to heaven. Whether you're a Christian, Jewish Christian, or whatever you are. Doesn't matter. Follow him. As he said, follow me. Follow me to where I'm going. He's not coming back. Go to where he is. That's what he's saying. Come to where I am. It's better here. Jesus warned the multitude. The Pharisees are hypocrites by teaching certain things to you to obey, while they do not follow them. For they bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders, while they will not help you lift them with even a finger. Woe to you, Pharisees! you should give for alms to those in need, those spiritual things that are within you. Then everything is clean for you. But woe to you, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you give mint and rue and all types of herbs, but do not give justice, mercy, faith, and the love of our loving Creator. These must be done, along with the other smaller things. Woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seats in the synagogues and at feasts, and love to be greeted and saluted in the marketplace. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like graves which are hidden, and those who travel upon them are unaware they have no spiritual life in them. For you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but are inside are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanliness. You appear outwardly in the flesh to be righteous to men, but your spirit within is full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel the seas and land to make one convert to Judaism, and when he does convert, you make him even more a son of hell than you are. You are blind guides who strain out a gnat yet swallow a camel. You blind guides say, whoever shall swear by the temple, it means nothing, but whoever swears by the gold ornaments of the temple, he is bound by it. Fools and blind ones, for which is greater, the ornaments of gold or the temple that makes them holy? And you say, whoever swears by the altar, it means nothing, but whoever swears by the gift that is on it, he is obliged to be bound by it. Fools and blind ones, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift holy? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and all things on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it and the one who dwells in it. And he who swears by the heavenly world swears by the throne of our loving Creator who sits upon it. All the works you do are to impress those watching, such as when you enlarge your script holders, phylacteries, along with the borders of your garments. But he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and he who humbles himself shall be exalted. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses and pretend to make long prayers. Therefore you will receive a greater condemnation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the tombs of the righteous, your forefathers killed. Then say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have partaken in the blood of the good prophets. Therefore you bear witness against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the good prophets. Therefore you continue to complete your father's portion. You snakes, you offspring of poisonous vipers, how can you escape hell's judgment? She sends you good prophets, wise men and scribes. Some of them you kill and crucify. Some you will flog in the synagogues and persecute from city to city. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that killed and stoned the good prophets sent to you. How often the loving spiritual Creator wanted to gather your children as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. So your house is left desolate, empty and alone, apart from the loving spiritual Creator. And I tell you, you will not understand me or the loving Creator until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the loving spiritual Creator. Then one of the lawyers said to him, Teacher, by saying these things you also insult us. I'd reckon so. And Jesus answered, Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, for you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. Blind ones, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, that the outside may be clean also. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key to knowledge and shut up heaven to men. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in you prevented. As Jesus spoke, they began to vehemently quarrel with him, trying to provoke him into saying something, so that they may charge him with an offence of blasphemy. The disciples came later to Jesus and said, Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard these sayings? Jesus answered, Disregard them, for they are blind guides of the blind, and if the blind guide the blind, then both will fall into a ditch. Thomas 1:02, Jesus said, Woe to you, Pharisees, for you are like a dog resting in the food trough of some oxen. He never eats it, but prevents the oxen from eating it. Author, Jesus exposes the egotistical worldly way of the Pharisees and scribes, who are devoid of the loving spiritual life force of our loving spiritual Creator that empowers our spiritual bodies and souls. He draws attention to the two different bodies they have by using the analogy of a cup. Our outer body of flesh can be covered in earthly dirt, but that means nothing and is unimportant. But if our inner spiritual body is covered with filth from our mind and bad actions, we are in serious spiritual trouble. Our spiritual life must be clean and full of the loving spiritual life force. As long as our spiritual body and soul are clean, then all our actions with our bodies of flesh will also be clean and empowered by love. Temple destroyed. Matthew 24:1-2. As Jesus left the temple, one of the disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what wonderful stones, what wonderful buildings are here." And Jesus said to him, "See these great buildings? The day will come when not one stone will be left upon another." Author. Jesus predicts that one day the temple will be completely destroyed. Following this dialogue in the Gospels, a false dialogue has been placed in, supposedly spoken by Jesus, where he is saying he will come again on the clouds at the end of the apocalypse and instigate great calamity and sufferings in the world. This is slander. This is all from the Jewish book of Daniel that Matthew in particular wants people to believe is talking about Jesus and slanders Jesus and our loving Creator as it links them to the filthy, slanderous book Revelation. The evil, slanderous book of Revelation states Jesus and our loving Creator will return, causing wars, famine, sicknesses, and many other horrible afflictions and calamities to kill children undeserving of heaven. This is the exact opposite of everything that Jesus did while here on earth as a spiritual child of our loving spiritual Creator, whose entire being is only love. As Jesus said, "I can only do what my loving Creator shows me to do." Anyone who truly knows Jesus and his spiritual way of love and non-violence, and the loving spiritual Creator of love that he leads us to, will know that Revelation is a load of rubbish. It should be ripped out of all New Testaments and burnt. Unfortunately, many devout Jewish Christians are fooled into keeping it in and believing this poisonous garbage and still teach this slander to children. I wish they would wake up and stop doing so. Now that, I'm very strong in those words, just as Jesus was strong with the hypocrites. And to have that book, that Revelation, that is complete hypocrisy. And yet Jewish Christians are supporting that. It's just so hypocritical to say that that's Jesus. It's unbelievable. But they're brainwashed, you see. They just believe that there's only one God in the whole Bible. They don't even look at the Jewish religion. There's obviously two gods. They don't look at Jesus' words to understand who he really is or who the loving life force that he was at one with is. Only love. They don't read his words. They just skim over them so they can get to Revelation, because then they'll be saved, you see. Because only the followers of Jesus will be saved. People in these Jewish Christian churches have told me that. Buddhists aren't going to be saved. Oh, bad luck if you're a Buddhist. Oh, if you're an atheist, you've got no hope. Only followers of only people who believe in Jesus. They've become Jews, the chosen children of their Jewish Yahweh God, one war God. They're just Jews again. Everyone, every human child on earth has a spiritual body in them that's perfect. If you want to move into it, please do so. You will be in heaven like anyone else will be who's a spiritual child of love on earth now. Whether you're following this religion or that religion or a humanitarian way of life, you're essentially like an atheist. You don't even believe in life after death of the body, but you're living a way which is totally filled with love and non-violence. Whether you know it or not, you are living out of your spiritual identity. By their fruits you will know them, Jesus said. A bad tree can't produce bad fruits. A bad tree can't produce good fruits. A good tree can't produce bad fruits. So if a good person is good and full of love, they are a good person. They have the characteristics of goodness and love in them. They will be in heaven. It's that simple. To say if you don't know Jesus you can't go there is ridiculous. Jesus wasn't saying that. It's his way that saves you. Following his way awakens you to become a child of love and non-violence on earth with love for everyone. We have to love the evil satanic children in a different way. That's why I warn them they're all going to hell. That's how I love them. That's how I love Putin and Netanyahu and the Israeli army and the Russian army and Hamas and all the others, the murderers. I love them by saying, you're all going to hell. Do you know that? Do you realise that? You're going to be screaming after you die. Stop murdering children of God. Stop murdering them. You're filthy, evil, stinking, satanic children. Now I say that in the same way Jesus was a bit strong-worded towards the Pharisees. But it's the truth. How can we set them free from this filthy, stinking, satanic lie they're living out of, murdering and killing and destroying? That's a filthy lie about who they really should be. So I have to tell them, you have become filthy, stinking lies. You're satanic murderers. You're nothing else. You've moved out of your spiritual body into this beast of the flesh. All flesh dies, rots and stinks. So out of love, we tell them. And we certainly don't give them guns or bombs like the Americans do and everyone else. And we don't do any of that. We don't support armies or navies or air forces anywhere in the world. I support none of them. If they've got guns and bombs on board their planes, they're going to hell. Always be spiritually ready. And this is why I don't support them and I won't join in. I want to be ready to go to heaven. Matthew 24:42-43. Jesus said, take heed and stay alert, for you do not know the day you will go to our loving Creator. Take note of this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into, to be robbed. It is like a man going to a far country who left his house and gave authority to his servants, and to each one his particular work, and ordered the gatekeeper to stay alert. Always be awake and aware, for you do not know when you will be called into the presence of the master of your house. In the evening, at midnight, at the crowing of the rooster, or in the morning, so do not fall asleep. For not even the angels in heaven know the hour, but only your loving Creator knows the hour and the day. Faithful is the wise servant who does the work allotted to him, so that when he comes into the presence of his master, he will be welcomed. But if a servant is forgetful about being called to be in the presence of his master at any moment, and becomes evil, abusing others, and eating and drinking with drunkards, he will fail in his duty, and therefore, when coming into the presence of his master, cannot be welcomed. And he will be set apart with the hypocrites, and there will be wailing and crying. So you can see how Jesus is referring to a few different aspects through this beautiful saying and warning. First of all, take note of this. If the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into, to be robbed. That means stay guarded against sin. Guard yourself against sin all the time. It could enter into your life at any moment. The temptation could come from anywhere or anybody or anything. So guard your spiritual home. We're not involved in evil. We're not involved in wars. Guard ourselves, because temptation will try to break through somewhere. Be ready for it. And then we've all given these opportunities to perform spiritual tasks in the world. All of us could become spiritual children and fulfill our spiritual life and consolidate our spiritual identity as our primary identity by living a spiritual life of love and non-violence now. And if we do that, then you might say we're a faithful child of the loving spiritual Creator, who is only love, and as a true child we live a life of love. So we've fulfilled our work on earth. So then we're welcomed into heaven. We are a true spiritual child of love. The heavenly spiritual universe and world is only love, and it's spiritual. Our spiritual body is filled with love, because that's the only thing that can empower it, the loving life force or Holy Spirit. Then we go to heaven. But if you fail, if you start abusing or murdering or killing, starting wars, get drunk, drug addiction, then you fail in your duty to become a spiritual child of love. And you can't be welcomed into heaven. And there'll be crying and wailing, gnashing of teeth. You'll have to be cleansed, and that's the trouble. Hell does exist, but it's a hell of burning realizations that you undergo. It won't be pleasant. Author, Jesus warns us we do not know the day we will pass through our death experience and come into the presence of our loving Creator, or Jesus in heaven. I must also say the Jewish Christians pervert this. They say, you don't know when Jesus is going to come back. You better be ready. They pervert it, you see. They're putting in this apocalyptic garbage all the time. Jesus is saying, get ready to die. Be ready because you don't know the hour. Only the loving Creator who's created your spiritual body knows the hour. It's not about Jesus coming back. They pervert it and distort it in the Jewish Gospels. It's a terrible thing that they've done, because this is a clear message. You don't know when you're going to die. Could be tonight. Could be tomorrow. And Jesus says it in other places. Get ready. Be ready. Always be ready. I just want to point that out. That's some of the perversions. You won't get it in my Gospels. I try my best not to pervert anything Jesus says. So you're not sure when you're going to be welcomed back into the presence of the spiritual Creator. That is, you're not sure when you're going to die any minute. But if a servant is forgetful about being called to be in the presence of his master at any moment, and becomes evil, abusing others, eating and drinking with drunkards, he will fail in his duty, and therefore, when coming into the presence of his master, cannot be welcomed. And he will be set apart with the hypocrites, and there will be wailing and crying. You see, so it's up to us to be ready. Jesus is saying, get ready, get ready, get ready. Stay in the love. Oh, but people hurt me, people persecute, people rob me. Stay in love. Stay in your spiritual body of love. Don't become like them. They're lost in darkness. Don't join in with them. Author, Jesus warns us, we do not know the day we will pass through our death experience and come into the presence of our loving Creator or Jesus in heaven. So we must all remain ready by living out of the spiritual way of love and non-violence that he taught us to follow, and not allow sin to break into our life that robs us of our spiritual life force. And we must not fall asleep or fall away from the spiritual way to heaven, but walk it every day of our life, ready for our spirits to be called into the presence of our loving spiritual Creator in the heavenly spiritual world at any moment. We continue to walk in love every day. I'll do the Be Ready 10 Maidens because it sort of complements it. Matthew 25, 1-13, Jesus said, the kingdom of the heavenly spiritual world is like 10 maidens who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 of them were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps, but took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with the lamps. The bridegroom was delayed, and they all nodded off to sleep. And at night time a cry went out, proclaiming, look, the bridegroom is coming, go to meet him. All those maidens arose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise ones answered, no, in case there will not be enough for us and you, but rather go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Later the other maidens came back, saying, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, truly, I say to you, I do not know you. Therefore always be prepared, for you know neither the day nor the hour when you will come into the presence of our loving Creator and the child of humanity in the heavenly spiritual world. Thomas 75, Jesus said, there are many standing at the door, but only those who are at one within themselves will go into the place of marriage. So Jesus is putting together a few points here about our spiritual body, our spiritual life, how much love we have with us. Do you have so much love that your vessel, your physical body, has been used to bring love into the world for so much that you're just filled with love, and your spirit body is filled with love, and your physical body's brought so much love into the world, you've got excess love, a vessel, you've got an extra amount of love. But those who haven't lived a life of love much, haven't got much oil, much love in them, and it easily runs out. Author, the lamps represent our spiritual bodies and souls that are enlightened or empowered by the loving spiritual life force of our loving spiritual Creator in the heavenly world. The oil represents all the loving goodness we accumulate through our life before we die to the flesh and rise in spirit. Some have more than others, but cannot share it with others to be their own. They must acquire it themselves through their own good works of love. At the time of our death experience, some will be filled with an abundance of love, even if in their last years they were too physically tired or ill to manifest love anymore. And they will pass into the heavenly spiritual world of love. Those whose spirits are too low in love will be unable to enter and need to accumulate more to also be filled and become fully enlightened. As Jesus said, you are to be children of light and love. Again, Jesus reminds us we do not know the exact time or day of our death experience, so be ready and filled with light and love. The Thomas version reminds us not to be divided within ourselves or we will be in darkness. But if we are at one with the loving spiritual life force, our whole body will be filled with light, and we can enter the heavenly spiritual world of our loving spiritual Creator. Jesus is constantly trying to tell me and you, you've got a spiritual body. You've been born here in this dangerous world of earth and suffering and death. But there's a way out. That is to say, there's a way through the world to a much more beautiful world where you're never going to be hurt again. You're never going to die again. There are no wars there. There are no guns. No evil children can come there because they're living out of a false identity which can't enter the heavenly world because it's a world of truth and love. So if you're living a lie, like all the Putin and Netanyahu's and warmongers of the world who are satanic children, they're living a lie, a filthy lie. Heaven is a place of spiritual truth. So they've moved out of their spiritual identity and body into this dark, stinking filth, shadow identity, killing and murdering. Oh, they seem very powerful here. But once they die, they're going to be screaming their heads off, wailing and crying and frightened out of their wits because of what they've done. But all of us who didn't get involved, who spoke out against them like I do, or others try to stop them, march against the armaments, march against war, march for peace, demonstrate for peace, we can all go to heaven, providing we're clean enough. We've done a few good things, and we're not worshipping money and all the rest of it. So it's a complete message of Jesus that, listen, it's your spiritual life that's important. Your physical body's secondary. He just says it over and over and over. And the only way to get ready to enter into, to be with Jesus in the heavenly spiritual world, the bridegroom sort of thing, the analogy, we join him in heaven by becoming like him now. The Jewish Christians will tell you no one can be like Jesus. That is destroying and perverting, and it's a disgusting thing to say, because Jesus said, you can be like me. He said it in the Gospels. And he said, if you understand my words and wake up and become like me, these works that I do, these miracles, you'll be able to do them and even greater miracles than I've done. Now they're his words. These Jewish Christians have really messed things up, and they should stop doing it. They've got to come back to Jesus and get out of the Jewish religion. Throw it away. Rip out the book of Revelation. That's the thing I'm angry about the most, is this Jewish poisoning of the Christian way of Jesus of love and non-violence to the heavenly spiritual world of love and non-violence, created by a spiritual life force and being whose entire consciousness is love. The only way I'm going to get in there is by becoming at one with love. That's why Jesus is continually saying, become at one. The two become one. It's always about the oneness of love. I have to live it now in a dangerous world. Well, there's the challenge. It's just a simple, really easy thing to understand regarding the intelligent, logical, spiritual truth of this. But living it, okay, that's more difficult. It can be really difficult. It can be extremely hard and challenging. But anyone can do it. And you can do it, and you can go as far as you possibly can if you just hang on to his words, look at them, take them in, really believe in heaven. Believe you'll be okay after death. If you're a loving child here, you'll be okay. You might be getting really smashed here, but you'll be okay once your body of meat stops working. Once it's all meat, this stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's meat, meat and bones. Once this thing stops moving, heart muscle stops moving, that's it. You're free. And you're going to be free of all physical suffering forever, because you won't have a physical body anymore. Your spiritual body leaves. The only thing Jesus says, are you ready to leave? Get ready. Fill yourself with this oil of light, this oil of love, and shine the light. It's the oil on the lampstand, you see. What is the light that's not under the bushel but on the lampstand? It's the light of love. Shine it, and so that anyone who comes near you sees the light of love from heaven shining through you to others. These maidens had the lamp, the light of love, you see. It's all about the light of love, the loving life force Some of the maidens had an enormous amount of loving life force. And I've met Christians, and they're Jewish Christian children, but they only look at Jesus. They only look at God through Jesus. They're not interested in the Jewish Old Testament. They have no interest whatsoever in the book of Revelations. They're just these beautiful children who follow Jesus to heaven. And they ignored the other crap, the rubbish. And that's what it is. It's poisoning the Christian religion. The Christian churches have to wake up to this and get out of it. I'd love to see a Christian church evolve again in the world that only looks at the gospel. I mean, I'm praying for that. I wish someone would do it. I'll join it. And it's a community, you know, of people who understand what I understand. I'm looking for anyone who understands what I understand. Email me. Here's my, wait a minute. So we'll finish there anyway, because I ramble on. I love talking about him. That's the trouble. I love talking about, there we go, jcinfocus@gmail.com. jcinfocus@gmail.com. You'll be able to email me there, and you can say, what you're saying is rubbish. You're going to go to hell. I'll say, okay, explain to me why that is. And then I'll have to ask questions about that God Yahweh at Jericho. Is that the God of Jesus, is it? See, you've got to have a logical backup to your argument about who God is. Jesus gives us the perfect descriptions. He's only love. So I just use his words. And that's the way you can break apart the false lies that are being spread about him by the Jewish Christians. See, they're Jewish and Christians. They're a hybrid. You know, you shouldn't be a hybrid. You're worshipping two different gods. A two-headed God of the Jews is not the singular one loving creator of Jesus that gives us a spiritual life of love. That God can only create loving things. That spiritual life force is only love. So become at one with love and you'll go to heaven. So love your way to heaven or hate your way to hell. The choice is yours. Jesus and the loving spiritual life force of heaven, they're not going to throw you or hurt you into hell or anything like that. You create your own hell if you want it. All the warmongers are doing that right now. And they're going to be screaming and crying and wailing after they die if they don't repent and apologise to the world for the stinking filth and the murder that they're committing in this world, poisoning the whole world. It's so evil now what's going on. It's high-level evil. That's why we need as many children to wake up and have nothing to do with armies in the world, nothing. Young people have to totally abandon all armies, navies, air force, don't have anything to do with them, nothing. Then we might stand a chance. Then we've got to look after the world's environment, which we're destroying as well. Jesus doesn't have to come back on the clouds to destroy anything. We're doing it by the way we live. Oh well, love your way to heaven. Okay, we'll move on to the next part of Matthew in the next exciting episode.